For $75 more than a decent set of golf clubs, you can now buy a brand new outboard motor, shipped straight to your door. No dealer, no waiting list, no questions asked. And Yamaha, the company that controls nearly half the world's outboard market, is watching it happen. But here's the part they don't want you to think about. 50 years ago, Yamaha did the exact same thing to American manufacturers. They copied, they undercut, they conquered. Now, history is repeating itself. And the company that once disrupted an entire industry may be about to learn what it feels like to be on the other side. To understand why an $800 motor from China matters, you first have to understand what it's up against. In 1958, in a factory in Hamamatsu, Japan, two engineers began working on something that had never been done before at their company. They had no testing procedures, no precedents to follow, so they ran their prototype engines 24 hours a day, around the clock, waiting for parts to break. When something failed, they fixed it. Then they ran the engine again. 2 years later, Yamaha released its first outboard motor to the world, the P7. A small, modest machine that nobody outside Japan paid much attention to. That was 65 years ago. Today, Yamaha controls 42% of the global outboard motor market. Their marine division generates over $760 million in operating income annually. They have more than 1,400 authorized dealers across North America alone. And their name has become something more than a brand. It has become a promise. When American boaters talk about Yamaha, they don't talk about horsepower ratings or fuel injection systems. They talk about the fishing trip where the weather turned bad and the motor got them home. They talk about the 20-year-old engine on their father's boat that still starts on the first pull. They talk about reliability in a way that sounds almost like faith. This reputation was not an accident. It was engineered. In 1984, while American manufacturers were still building two-stroke engines that belched smoke and burned through fuel, Yamaha released their first four-stroke outboard. It was cleaner, quieter, more efficient, and it arrived a full decade before the Environmental Protection Agency would begin enforcing emission standards that would cripple Yamaha's competitors. By the time those regulations hit in the 1990s, Yamaha had spent 10 years perfecting technology that Mercury and Johnson and Evinrude were only beginning to understand. The American companies scrambled to catch up. Some of them never did. This is what 40 years of investment looks like. This is what it means to build something that lasts. But lasting costs money. A Yamaha F9.9, their popular 9.9 horsepower portable outboard, carries a manufacturer's suggested retail price of $3,470. For that, you get a 3-year factory warranty. You get access to a dealer network that can service your motor within days, sometimes hours. You get parts availability that spans decades, and you get resale value that holds. A 10-year-old Yamaha in good condition still commands premium prices on the used market. You are not just buying an engine, you are buying into a system. That system includes the mechanic at your local marina who trained on Yamaha products. It includes the parts warehouse that stocks Yamaha components. It includes the dealer who will take your trade-in and help you finance your next purchase. Every one of those people needs to make a living. Every one of those services adds cost. For generations, this system was unassailable. If you wanted quality, you paid for it. If you couldn't afford it, you bought used, or you waited, or you did without. There was no door number 3. The established players, Yamaha, Mercury, Honda, Suzuki, had built walls so high that no newcomer could climb them. The investment required to match their quality was enormous. The dealer networks took decades to build. The brand trust was earned one boat, one motor, one safe return home at a time. The city of Hangzhou sits in eastern China, about 100 miles southwest of Shanghai. It is known for its tea plantations, its ancient temples, and its reputation as one of the best places to live in the country. It is also home to Hidea Power Machinery. Hidea is not a garage operation. It is a publicly traded company with a production capacity of over 100,000 outboard motors per year. Their factory floor features robotic assembly lines, digital quality control systems, and an automated manufacturing process that meets international certification standards. They have passed ISO quality audits. They hold EPA certification for the United States. They carry CE certification for Europe. They helped draft China's national standards for outboard motor manufacturing. And they are not alone. Parsun, based in Suzhou, offers a full lineup of motors from 2.6 horsepower to 115 horsepower. Their products are approved for sale in both the United States and Canada. Hongkai, another manufacturer, has become a dominant presence on Amazon and eBay, selling directly to consumers at prices that seem almost impossible. A 9.8 horsepower 4-stroke outboard, $899, shipped to your door. The natural question is obvious. How can they do this? The answer is less mysterious than it might seem. These motors are not original designs. Many of them are dimensional copies of Yamaha engines, so precise that original Yamaha parts often fit directly onto the Chinese alternatives. Online forums are filled with users confirming what the manufacturers will not say publicly. The components are interchangeable. The designs are derivative. The engineering has already been done. One Canadian buyer documented his experience importing a 6-horsepower motor directly from a factory in Ningbo. Total cost, including shipping and customs clearance, $900 Canadian. Inside the box, he found the engine, a fuel tank, a toolkit, spare spark plugs, a replacement impeller, and an instruction manual. The manual was nearly word for word identical to a Yamaha document, except everywhere the name Yamaha should have appeared, it simply read, "Our company." This is not counterfeiting in the traditional sense. These are real products from real factories, sold under their own brand names. But they exist because decades of Japanese engineering have already solved the hard problems. The Chinese manufacturers are building on foundations they did not lay. The quality question is where the story gets complicated. Mechanics and marine technicians have documented real issues with these motors. Corrosion appearing within 2 to 3 years of purchase, cheaper metals that fail under stress, plastic components that break where Japanese equivalents would flex, water pump housings missing the locating pins that prevent overheating. One industry publication reported that a competing Chinese brand saw 8 out of 10 motors returned with manufacturing defects. A British sailing magazine put it this way: "These motors have all the right ingredients, but it's like someone following a famous chef's recipe and not getting the same results." And yet, the forums are also filled with satisfied customers, buyers who have run their Chinese outboards for years without incident, users who report reliable starting, acceptable performance, and no major failures. One Australian owner documented running his Parsun at full throttle for 4 straight hours with no problems. Another described his Chinese motor as surprisingly reliable, more dependable in his experience than a name brand alternative that had given him constant trouble. The truth is uncomfortable for everyone. These motors work, not always, not forever, but often enough to create a market that did not exist 10 years ago. And they reach that market through channels that bypass everything the established industry has built. The traditional path to buying an outboard motor in America has not changed in half a century. You visit a dealer, you talk to a salesperson, you discuss your needs, your boat, your budget. You negotiate a price. You arrange financing if necessary. You schedule delivery and rigging. The dealer preps the motor, installs it, and walks you through the break-in procedure. The Chinese motor arrives in a cardboard box. There is no dealer visit, no salesperson, no negotiation. You find the listing on Amazon or eBay or Alibaba. You click purchase. You enter your credit card number. A few weeks later, a freight carrier drops a crate at your door. What happens next is entirely up to you. This is not just a different product, it is a different business model. The entire infrastructure that supports a Yamaha purchase, the showrooms, the trained technicians, the parts inventory, the warranty service network, represents an enormous investment. That investment gets built into every price tag. When you pay $3,000 for a Yamaha, you are paying for the motor, but you are also paying for the system that stands behind it. The Chinese manufacturers have no such system to support, no dealer margins to protect, no showroom leases to cover, no service technician salaries to pay. They build motors, put them in boxes, and ship them across the ocean. The savings get passed directly to the consumer. For decades, this trade-off was unthinkable. Who would buy a motor with no local support? Who would risk being stranded on the water with an engine that no marina would touch? The answer, increasingly, is a lot of people. The economic pressure on American boaters has never been greater. Since 2019, the average retail price of a new outboard-powered boat has increased 44%. Interest rates for boat financing have climbed to their highest levels in years. Inflation has eroded purchasing power across every income bracket. Dealers are reporting something they have not seen in years: leftover inventory from previous model years sitting unsold on their lots. The smaller the boat, the worse the problem. Entry-level buyers, the young families, the first-time fishermen, the retirees on fixed incomes, are being priced out of the market. For these customers, a $3,000 motor is not a purchase. It is a barrier. An $800 motor is a door. But the deeper story here is not about economics. It is about history. In the 1970s, the American outboard industry was dominated by names that every boater knew: Mercury, Johnson, Evinrude. These were the titans, the household names, the companies that had built recreational boating into a national pastime. Yamaha was a newcomer, a Japanese company known for motorcycles and musical instruments, trying to break into a market that Americans had owned for decades. The established players looked at Yamaha and saw what many people see when they look at Chinese manufacturers today: a foreign competitor building copies of proven designs and selling them at lower prices. Mercury actually partnered with Yamaha in those early years, a joint venture that allowed Yamaha to produce outboards sold under the Mariner brand in the United States. Mercury believed they could control the relationship. They believed they could benefit from Japanese manufacturing efficiency while protecting their core technology. They were wrong. Within a decade, Yamaha had learned everything they needed to know. When the partnership ended, they emerged as a fully independent competitor with the manufacturing capability to challenge Mercury on their home turf. The company that had helped create a rival spent the next 40 years watching that rival take their market share. The pattern is unmistakable. What Yamaha did to Mercury in the 1980s, Chinese manufacturers are now attempting to do to Yamaha. The playbook has not changed. Copy-proven designs, invest in production quality, undercut on price, build market share slowly. Wait. But understanding that this is happening does not explain why it is happening now. The answer lies in forces that have been building for decades. Chinese manufacturing has transformed over the past 20 years. The factories producing these outboard motors are not the primitive workshops that Western consumers might imagine. Hidea's production facility in Hangzhou features automated assembly lines, computer-controlled machining centers, and quality control systems that meet international standards. They operate die casting machines ranging from 200 to 1,250 tons. They run their own cathodic electrophoresis coating lines for corrosion resistance. They have invested over 50 million yuan in parts production infrastructure alone. This is not a company cutting corners to save money. This is a company building industrial capacity to compete on a global scale. The economics are straightforward. Chinese labor costs remain a fraction of Japanese equivalents. Energy costs are lower. Regulatory burdens are lighter. Government policy actively supports export-focused manufacturing. When you combine these advantages with designs that have already been proven by Japanese engineers, you get a product that can be sold profitably at prices the established manufacturers cannot match. Yamaha could build an $800 outboard motor. They have the engineering capability. They have the manufacturing expertise, but doing so would require them to abandon everything that makes Yamaha valuable. Their dealer network expects margins. Their brand reputation demands quality standards that cost money to maintain. Their research and development budget is committed to next-generation technology. Their entire business model is built on premium positioning. Cutting prices to match Chinese competition would destroy more value than it would protect. This is the strategic bind that disruption creates. The very strengths that built an empire become the weaknesses that prevent defending it. And there is another factor that makes this moment different from any previous competitive threat. The technology is changing. Electric propulsion is the fastest growing segment in the outboard motor market, expanding at more than 5% annually. For now, gasoline engines still dominate. Over 80% of motors sold in 2024 were traditional combustion designs. But the trajectory is clear. Emissions regulations are tightening. Battery technology is improving. Consumer interest in sustainable boating is growing. This matters because electric motors are fundamentally simpler than combustion engines. Fewer moving parts, fewer precision tolerances, fewer opportunities for the quality gap between premium and budget manufacturers to reveal itself. A Chinese company that struggles to match Yamaha's combustion engine reliability might find electric propulsion a much easier target. The Chinese are already positioning for this future. Companies like ePropulsion are competing directly in the electric marine market with products that have earned genuine respect from Western reviewers. Chinese battery technology is among the most advanced in the world. The supply chains for electric vehicle components, motors, controllers, battery management systems are heavily concentrated in China. Yamaha has responded. Their Harmo electric rim drive system launched recently, equivalent to a 9.9 horsepower gasoline motor. They have taken equity stakes in battery integration companies. They are investing in research. But investment takes time, and the Chinese manufacturers are not waiting. The question is no longer whether disruption is coming to the outboard motor industry. The question is how fast it will arrive, and whether the companies that built this industry will be able to adapt before the ground shifts beneath them. Yamaha is not blind to what is happening. In recent years, the company has made moves that suggest a clear awareness of the threat. They acquired Telwater, an Australian boat builder, in a vertical integration strategy designed to secure supply chains and hedge against material cost volatility. They extended warranty coverage on premium models to 5 and 7 years, raising the bar for competitors who offer only 12 months. They launched dealer incentive programs with names like New Year, New Reliability, designed to reinforce their core message. When it matters, Yamaha delivers. Their focus has shifted increasingly toward the high horsepower market. Motors above 300 horsepower. Advanced digital integration systems like Helm Master EX. Features that require software development and engineering expertise that Chinese manufacturers cannot easily replicate. In this segment, the price difference between a Yamaha and a Chinese alternative is almost irrelevant. The buyers are not shopping on cost, they are shopping on capability. But the entry-level market tells a different story. Motors below 30 horsepower represent one of the fastest-growing segments in the industry. These are the products that first-time buyers purchase. The kicker motors that fishermen mount as backups. The primary propulsion for millions of small aluminum boats and inflatables around the world. This is where Chinese manufacturers have established their strongest position. And this is where Yamaha's premium pricing is hardest to justify. The honest truth is that for many buyers, the calculation has changed permanently. If you are mechanically inclined, if you boat only a few weekends per season, if you need a secondary motor for emergencies, if your budget genuinely cannot stretch to Japanese prices, a Chinese outboard may be a reasonable choice. You will sacrifice the dealer network. You will accept the risk of quality inconsistency. You will have limited options if something goes wrong far from shore. But you will have a motor that, in most cases, will start when you need it and run when you ask it to. If reliability is not optional, if you fish commercially, if you boat in remote waters, if your motor is your only way home, the equation looks different. The Yamaha Premium buys you peace of mind that cannot be quantified on a spec sheet. It buys you a service network that spans the continent. It buys you resale value that holds for decades. For these buyers, the Chinese alternative is not actually an alternative at all. The market is splitting, and it may never come back together. 50 years ago, 2 engineers in Hamamatsu ran prototype engines around the clock, waiting for parts to break, learning from every failure, building something that would eventually challenge the American giants who dominated the industry. They had no reputation, no dealer network, no brand trust. They had only persistence and the conviction that quality, given enough time, would win. Today, factories in Hangzhou and Suzhou are running their own prototypes. They are learning from their failures. They are improving their quality control. They are building production capacity that rivals anything in Japan. And they have something Yamaha did not have in 1960: instant access to every market on Earth through the internet. The companies that built empires on disruption eventually become the ones being disrupted. This is not a failure of strategy. It is the nature of industry itself. The only question is timing. Yamaha sees what is coming. Whether seeing it will be enough remains to be written. Because in the end, the water does not care who built your motor. It only cares whether your motor gets you home.